Imagine throwing millions of dollars into a burning room because someone told you the fire was out, without checking if they actually turned off the gas. That is the exact financial disaster playing out on Wall Street right now. In the last 48 hours, a single social media post moved more wealth than the GDP of entire nations. The Dow surged to an all-time high. Oil suffered a historic collapse, and Asian markets absolutely exploded. The headline: the war is over. Peace has won. But here's the terrifying truth almost nobody's willing to say out loud. The ink isn't on the paper. There is no signed treaty. The actual text is completely secret. And Israel, the other primary combatant in this devastating conflict, isn't even at the negotiating table. Now, before we look at the hard numbers, you'll have to excuse my voice. I have a brutal cold, and normally I would never record like this. But as an Iranian watching my homeland and the global economy stand on the razor's edge of this historic moment, I couldn't stay silent. My voice might be raspy, but the warning I'm about to give you is too urgent to wait for me to heal. If you want to understand what is truly happening behind closed doors before the delegates meet in Geneva this Friday, you need to look past the media hype. Let's break down the reality of this deal and how we must protect our capital. For the past 3 months, the shadow of active escalation has hung over the Middle East, driving oil prices up 40% since the start of the year and choking the global economy with inflation. This weekend, Pakistan and Qatar mediated a breakthrough. The US and Iran announced a preliminary memorandum of understanding, an MOU. This framework establishes a temporary 60-day ceasefire. Under the terms, blockades will lift and shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz, which carries roughly 20% of the world's oil supply, will reopen. In exchange for sanctions relief, Iran will pause certain nuclear enrichment programs for technical verification. As someone who understands the deep political complexities of Iran, I can tell you this framework is a relief. But as a market analyst, I must remind you an MOU is not a signed treaty. It is a declaration of intent. It is a promise to agree later. And yet, look at how the market reacted. The reaction was violent and immediate. Brent crude plummeted nearly 5%, down to $83.17 a barrel. Wall Street went into a buying frenzy. The S&P 500 and the Dow both closed at brand new historic all-time highs. Overseas, the relief rally was even more dramatic. Japan's Nikkei skyrocketed 5.5%. In South Korea, the Kospi surged nearly 6%. But look at the quiet warning signs. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index popped 1% at the open but quickly faded, giving back almost all of its gain by the closing bell. Why did it fade? Because sophisticated institutional money is asking the same question I'm asking. First, the actual text of this agreement remains completely secret. Second, Israel is completely bypassed in this diplomatic track. And third, the entire deal hinges on highly technical nuclear verification over the next 60 days. In short, the market has priced in an absolute flawless peace scenario based on a press release. So, how do we trade this over the next 48 to 72 hours? Do not chase these gap highs. Buying a stock indexes at these breakout peaks is incredibly risky right now because the peace premium has already been fully priced in. Second, watch the massive divergence in safe havens. Interestingly, while equities rallied, gold and Bitcoin actually held onto their gains. That is an incredibly rare and abnormal pairing. It tells us that while retail investors are celebrating, major macro funds are still quietly hedging against the risk of this deal falling apart. If this deal does hold, energy producers in shale oil will continue to face steep downside pressure as Iranian crude prepares to flood back into the global market. Conversely, airlines, travel stocks, and maritime shipping lines will see massive immediate relief as fuel and war risk insurance premiums collapse. But everything, and I mean everything, depends on this Friday, June 19th in Geneva. On Friday, delegates are scheduled to physically put pen to paper in Geneva. If that signature happens smoothly, the rally has room to run. But if there is a delay, a walkout, or a dispute over enrichment verification, this entire market rally will unwind with terrifying speed. This is deeply personal for me more than anyone. I want to see a stable, peaceful path forward for the people of Iran and the entire world. But as your analyst, I urge you to keep your position sizes tight and protect your capital. I will be back on Friday with a raw same day breakdown the absolute second we get news out of Geneva, whether they sign or whether it all falls apart. My voice might be a little rough right now, but our analysis will remain razor sharp. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss Friday's update and leave a comment below. Do you think this deal actually holds? Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you on Friday.